Hello and welcome to another episode of That One Time podcast, where we explore interesting people doing cool stuff under the pillars of health, wealth and wisdom. Today, my guest was Audra Bear. She is a breathwork coach living in Tulum and has a six-figure breathwork coaching and guidance business. We talk about breathwork therapy, psychology, psychedelics, mindset, self-love, the business side of her breathwork business, lots of little tips about how people can, build a business around working online and what they should do. There's a little side note that developed, which was a story that I'm going to also put in as a separate podcast episode, but around my experience doing a heroic dose of mushrooms, which was quite interesting. Haven't shared that before. And yeah, it was just a nice little catch up as well. It's a long episode, but there's a lot of nuggets. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I highly recommend going through it, maybe taking some time to do a few attempts at the episode. So enjoy. Thank you. Audra, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Adam. Thank you.
Where are you at the moment?
I'm in Tulum.
Nice.
Tulum, Mexico. It is 7:30 p.m.
Okay, so we're probably going to be here till 11, knowing us.
Cool. Yeah, probably.
Well, let's have the listeners kind of explain who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I am Audra Bear. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota originally, currently living in Tulum. And I actually moved here a year and a half ago. I did not think that I was going to stay this long, but here we are. And one of the reasons I was able to move out here was because I started I don't even like to call it a business anymore. We'll probably get into that. But my movement, my passion in 2019. And so I started sharing about breathwork and my transformation, my healing, back then online. And I started having people reaching out to me, asking about what I was doing and what I was teaching. And that was kind of like how the momentum started for my business. And yeah, so it grew for those 2 years. And then in 2021, I moved to Tulum. So I've been here since then.
Nice. And we, just for context, we met in Tulum a random night out. And I remember you had a conversation with me and you were like, yeah, I didn't really give you the time of day because I thought you were just a tourist, and then you just never left.
Yeah. Like we had fun that night, but then you messaged me and I didn't respond because I was like, I just didn't think that there was going to be anything there. And here we are a year later.
Yeah, a year later.
Who knew?
No, you never know. I mean, that's a core thing that I've added to my life is just like be super kind to everyone, and you never know where things will lead. So you never know the impacts that people have on your life. So
yeah.
Got to be open.
Yeah. I feel like you're really good at that. Truly.
I make a good podcast host. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, look, let's get into it. So I'd love to hear what the context of your early years are so that we can understand you as a human.
Good question. So early years, like it's in childhood?
Whatever, from birth to now. Just the context of what happened, what led you to the key decisions that got you down the pathway that you went down that led you to this point now.
Okay. So this is really interesting. I grew up in the church. My parents are pastors, and I was homeschooled my entire life. I never once went to school. So I feel like, my childhood was very alternative because I didn't have a normal experience growing up. And it was actually kind of sheltered because I wasn't allowed to listen to normal music or watch movies, Disney, like all of that was off limits. And so when I was 17 years old, I moved to California from Minnesota to go to Bible school because I wanted to be in the ministry. And that was all I knew. That was what my parents were doing. That's what all my friends were getting into. So that was... And I really was passionate about it too. I really was like, I knew there was something to it. So Bible school when I was 17. And then when I was 19, I felt the call of God on my life to be a missionary in Australia.
my hood.
Yeah, in the hood. So, and I actually got invited by these pastors to come and work for their church in Australia. So I remember going home that summer to Minnesota, and I had to like pay for everything myself, and that was like a lot of money because I think the flight was $1,000 alone, and then like the visa and like all this stuff, and like to me that was like a lot of money. So I ended up working 3 jobs just to get myself out there, and then I booked a one-way. I only knew one person, and I just like said goodbye to everything, and it actually ended up being so amazing. Like,
what called you, do you think?
Now that I'm looking back at it, I think it was more of like a running away than a calling.
Running away from what?
The lifestyle, my family, the religion. I really wanted to explore, but that was my only way of really getting outside and seeing something different.
Without ostracizing your parents, do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of fear growing up in religion, because if you question anything, what does that mean? Does that mean you're not a Christian? Does that mean you're going to hell? Does that mean you're a bad person? So I was always afraid to outwardly question any sort of theology or any sort of part about the lifestyle, because obviously like I want to be a good person. But I think there was always secretly this desire to want to know what was on the outside and know what else there was. So I think that for me was part of following that desire. Even though I was going to work for a church, I really just wanted to get outside of my hometown, get outside of Bible school, and like see the world.
You got into Australia, you had one friend, and then what happened?
Yeah, so it ended up being really amazing. So I worked in this church for 2 years. I lived with the pastors and their family, and they lived in this beautiful home on the beach. It was like 400 meters from the water. And every day we would watch the whales from the breakfast table. Like, it was so cool. Like, and I was 19, just exploring the world, just like in this, new phase of my life. And I was so excited. And yeah, my job was to organize the events at the church. I was the worship leader, so I would organize the band and do the practices.
So you ran the parties.
Yeah, literally. Basically your job.
Yeah, literally but my job.
Church. Yeah.
I mean, there's probably more money in it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I was actually thinking today about something that we used to have to do this street evangelism. So like I would take a group of teenagers or people in their 20s, like young people, and we would go out on like a Friday night to the main street where everyone was like going out, and we would talk to people on the street and tell them about God and offer to pray for them.
How did that go down?
Some people were open to it, but a lot of people weren't. But I'm just like, who brings teenagers and kids out to do stuff like that? Like, that is so weird. It's so random.
Why do you think people aren't open to that sort of stuff? Like digging into it?
I think maybe past judgments.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like what they heard from somebody else about somebody, or thinking that it's like, yeah, it is odd to go up to somebody and ask to pray for them. Like, that's a little bit strange, right? You don't see that every day.
I kind of fuck with it.
But if it was me, you'd probably be like, yeah, sure. All right. We'll give it a go.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Yeah, cool. So you've gone to Australia, you're living your best life, you're running the parties at the church.
Mm-hmm. And then, all of my friends started getting married very young. Like, I was in 5 weddings by the time that I was 25 or 21. So that was very normal. So when I met a guy in Australia that was part of the church, and his family was part of the church, and my family was part of the church, and it was like, it just made sense. And my visa was running out. If I got married to him, then I would have a visa and I could stay forever. And he loves God and I love God. And it's like, let's make it happen. So we got engaged. We were actually dating for a year, and then we got engaged for a year. And I mean, I don't know if I can honestly say I don't know if I actually loved him, because he was my first relationship and I didn't know what to compare it to. But like, I think I was in it mostly because it made sense from the outside perspective. So yeah, it kind of got
let's
dramatic.
dig into that quickly.
Which part?
Things making sense on the outside, but then them not making sense inside. And how did you then differentiate between the two versus how do you now differentiate between the two?
I think growing up in religion, I was always taught to question myself, because even if I had questions about what the pastors were saying, I couldn't ask, because that meant that I was not a good Christian or that I didn't understand what they were saying. So I never really learned to listen to my intuition and listen to myself and what I actually wanted. I was so used to doing what everyone else was telling me what to do. So after a year of being engaged to him, I felt like it was off. There was multiple times where I felt like there was something wrong, and like I wasn't really sure if I wanted to move forward with it. There was so many like uncomfortable things. But I also saw a lot of unhealthy marriages modeled inside of Christianity. Because I think a lot of people get married for the same reason, because it makes sense on the outside, not because they're actually happy. Or
there's a sexual desire that's being repressed, and it's the only way to get it resolved without going to hell.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've seen that before too.
I've seen that too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my friends didn't have sex until they got married, because that was like the rule.
Yeah. We've spoken about this in the past. We've had a similar kind of upbringing. Yeah. And we've experienced similar things. So, I mean, I didn't get engaged, but...
but the repression of expressing yourself.
Yeah. And what that does to a person. Yeah. Anyway, continue.
So, so I was feeling like it was off. So then finally, like after a year, it was the first time I actually used my intuition. It was the first time I listened to myself when I told him that I didn't want to be with him anymore, because I couldn't shake it. I just couldn't get rid of the feeling, and I didn't see the future with him. And every time I saw pictures of people getting married, I would get sad, because I was like, I don't really want that. And I just had to listen to myself. And that really catapulted me into like a whole new way of living, because I opened up a door to myself, to my connection with myself, and being able to pursue the things that I actually like, and not being ashamed about it, not having to hide it.
Yeah, there's a lot of shame that comes in to like religious dogma. Is probably the best word.
Absolutely.
Do you think there's any positive value there though that you can take? Like what positives did you take from your experience during that time?
I mean, I really liked how wholesome it was. Like my friendships, what we did in the community, it was all based around just connection and loving each other and like family. And that was really beautiful, I think, to have at that time. And having that community when I was halfway across the world, trying to navigate things, trying to figure things out, I think that was really cool.
So is there a way to have that experience of community and wholesomeness without the pressure of the religious dogma, or is it one with you can't have one without the other?
No, I think there is for sure. There's ways to have that without no rules, no box, just coming from the heart, just loving, and being connected with yourself so you can connect with others from that place. But you don't have to judge based on they're Christian, they're not. Or they're this person and they're not. Like that is so much separation and judgment.
That's a hard place to come. That's a hard place to get to though.
I think that is the place that we all are looking for, right? To live from the heart, live from love, experience love. That is the result of healing.
Well, let's come back out and we'll continue your story and we'll go back into that one.
Right. Okay. So I broke up with him and then my visa expired in Australia. So I had to go and renew it. So I went to Bali and I was 21 and I wanted to explore yoga, but in the church that I came from, yoga is the devil.
Yeah.
Yoga is worshiping the devil. So you can't do that. That's bad. But I was like, I kind of want to go like, I think because in Christianity, everything is, if it's not Jesus, it's bad. It's the devil. If it's not in the Bible, then it's bad. So it's a very like scary, like you can't explore anything outside of that type of feeling. So anyway, so I went to Bali, did this yoga retreat, couldn't tell anyone what I was there for. I had to I couldn't post about it, like nothing, because I was afraid that they would, I don't know what, I was afraid of the judgment, I guess. But at that yoga retreat, that was the first time that I ever heard the word breathwork, ayahuasca, and mushrooms. I heard about mushrooms the first time.
Jesus. And there we go.
And that opened the door for me.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah. I mean, I didn't explore any of that right away because I was like, I don't know what that is. I think that's bad. But eventually, those three things, I would say 2 out of those 3 things were huge, huge catalysts in my healing and transformation. So basically after that, I went back to Australia for a few months. I had to move home because my visa ran out again. So home, I went to Minnesota. And I had to just figure out my life again. Like, I don't have this relationship. I don't have this job. Like, what am I going to be? Like, I spent all these years in Bible school, in missionary life. And I just wanted to be a normal person in her 20s. I think I was 23 when I moved home. So I was like, I just want to be a normal girl in my 20s and have fun. So I got a job at this restaurant and I would just work, go out with my friends after, sleep during the day. I was just living whatever, an easy lifestyle. Yeah. And in that time is when I started to not develop, but become more aware of an eating disorder that was ongoing for many years. But that was when it was getting really bad because I was not dealing with the grief or the transition of everything that had happened. And
so the eating disorder there prior to while you were in the church, or did it develop after you kind of let go?
It developed when I was really young, 13 or 14. But once I came back to Minnesota on that time, that's when it started to get really bad.
Do you want to talk about it in any more detail than that?
I mean, it wasn't traditional. I think that's why I was questioning myself in terms of I was binging. And that was part of the lifestyle of partying and working at the restaurant and all the stuff that I was doing. I would eat every night, I would drink every night, and I would just feel so sick and then just go to bed and do it all over again. And I didn't have a good relationship with my food or my body.
So where did that come from, do you think?
I mean, looking at it now, my mom and my dad both had eating disorders growing up. So I think that was my, no, totally different forms. That was my childhood coping mechanism. Yeah. My mom was always on a diet, always trying to lose weight, hated her body. My dad was 400 pounds, morbidly obese when I was 11 years old. And then he had this extreme gastric bypass surgery where he lost 200 pounds in a year.
Oh my God.
And then gained it back. So this crazy roller coaster
That's
of
wild.
That relationship. Yeah. So that was what I was witnessing growing up.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was when I decided I wanted to go into therapy. And that was the first time, literally the first session I went into therapy. My therapist sat down and she said, tell me about your childhood.
You're like, oh my God.
I was like, why are you asking me about this? This has nothing to do with my, like, none of this. Like, why? You know, I was like, okay, fine. And then I remember in that session, like, I told her, I was like, well, yeah, like, my mom hit us, but, like, I wouldn't really call that abuse. Like, she just needed to keep us in line. And my therapist kind of looked at me and she was like, okay, we'll circle back to that one.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not even joking. I was 23 years old before I realized that I actually experienced abuse as a child.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't even know it happened, but I thought it was so normal. I thought that was just like everyone's experience. And so all of a sudden, all of these layers started peeling back. And I'm like, wait, that's what this is. That's what all of this is causing. And then I started talking to my siblings, because I have 3 siblings. And I was like, what do you guys think about this? Like, has this affected you? And then all of a sudden they start doing the work. They're peeling back the layers. They're releasing the trauma. And like all of us got in therapy at the same time. And I ended up staying in therapy for a year, but I just didn't feel like it was really moving me forward. Like, it was just scratching at an old wound. It made me so sad. I remember that year I was so sad all the time. And so like just low energy, because I was constantly releasing and trying to heal. So
do you think that was part of the process to get you to heal, or it was just the wrong technique?
No, I think that was part of it, because I had to become aware of what was going on before I could like even let it go. Because I didn't know. I needed to like really face that and feel it. So yeah. So I mean, I felt like it helped in a way, but I was still kind of like dealing with it. And still wanted to escape the pain. And so while I was working in that restaurant, I was 23, 24 years old. For the first time in my entire life, I started getting attention from men. And I liked it. I never had that before in the church lifestyle. I never had guys hating on me or wanting to buy me things or like anything. And that year I got my first sugar daddy. And he would like take me shopping, and like he helped me fix my car one time, like things like that. And I was like, oh, this is nice. Like, I've never had this before.
Do you think this stems from, do you think you'd be less inclined to have accepted something like that if you'd had a healthy male role model in your life prior to?
Yeah. Or if I felt supported in any other way.
Okay. So
I
you were
don't think I
craving
felt
that, like,
supported. Yeah.
Craving that male kind of like.
Yeah. That support, the container.
That support for sure. I'm trying to think of the word, but I can't think of the right word, but that's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that kind of opened up the door, because I had never like had that experience before. So I was like, ooh, what else? Like what's behind this door? Like, okay. And then I did a total shift in gears, and I was like, let's see what's on the other side. My friend who I was working with at the restaurant, her sister lived in Las Vegas, and she said, hey, we should go out there and try and get a pool job, because the pool girls, all they have to do is do the bottle service in their bikini, and they make like $30,000 in one summer. And I was like, okay, amazing.
It's actually pretty solid.
I was like, sure, okay. And I was like, that's it? Like, I'm already doing that. I would just be doing it in a bikini. Like, let's go check it out. So we flew out to Las Vegas, and we went to these, you had to audition for the pool jobs. And we would go into these auditoriums where there was like 1,000 girls in their bikinis, their spray tan, high heels, nails, like everything. And you would get like 2 seconds in front of a judge. And yeah, they just picked based on what they liked, and then you had to come back, and then there was like second rounds, third rounds of auditions, like this whole thing. So anyway, so I kept flying out to Vegas, because I kept getting like further down the line, and I kept getting asked for the next round of auditions, and finally I got my first job at Tao. And so I packed everything up and moved. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go see what's in Vegas for me.
And what was in Vegas for you?
Well, I ended up working that job for like maybe a month. It really didn't last that long. And I also was doing modeling and like random things. And then a girl that I was living with, my friend, she was working in the strip clubs. And so one night she just asked me, she was like, do you want to come to work with me tonight? And I was like, okay. I had never even been in a strip club before. I didn't know what happened. I didn't know what to wear. I didn't know what was going on. I was just like, okay, yeah, let's go. And so like she gave me the outfit. She told me what to do. I had to go on an audition. I got the job that night. I worked that night. And then I think my first time I made like $500 and all I had to do was dance on stage. And I was like, this is easy. Okay.
Yeah. I think I listened to a podcast recently, I'm listening to an audiobook right now, and there was a mention of something yesterday that was like, easy money is a trap. Like, it's a real trap because it takes away the desire to do the work, and then the work is where all the purpose comes from.
Yeah, 100%.
Just came across it yesterday. I was like,
yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, continue. Yeah. So easy money, $500.
Well, that's what I'm realizing now too, is like, just because it's a lot of money and it's easy doesn't mean that it's going to make you happy. This is so like corny, right? But like, there's a big difference between having money and living life in abundance, right? Because like, yeah, I had money and I was making a lot of money. I was spending a lot of money. Like, I would go on trips, shopping, like the whole thing. It was a whole lifestyle. But I was so unhealthy because I was staying up till 6 a.m. every night to work. I was drinking on the job every night. Thank God I never put anything up my nose. I never did anything like that. Otherwise, that would have been a whole nother trap. But just the lifestyle and being inside of the club and like listening to the music and the type of guys and like that just is such a vibe killer.
It's a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope. Yeah. It's addicting for more than just the money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's dopamine.
Especially the
overload.
Attention thing. Especially the attention. Because like I realized that was something that I wanted and didn't have growing up and didn't have even in like my early 20s. And so that was like really exciting for me to be like wanted and have attention every single night from multiple guys. So much so that they would be willing to pay just to hang out with me. Like, that shows where my worth was at, though. If I thought that was worth it. I kept going back. I just kept going back. Yeah, I started working all over the country because I heard about this thing called travel dancing, and girls would go into different cities depending on where the events were or where the guys were. So if there was like a Super Bowl somewhere, you could go there and dance at the club. Or if there was like a golf tournament somewhere, you could go there because that's where all the guys are. So yeah, I ended up working in Denver, Chicago, New York, Scottsdale, Vegas, like all over. It was fun, but not healthy. So anyways, it all ended basically because I started doing breathwork in 2018. I met this guy, friend of a friend, and we met and fell in love very fast. And he was a breathwork teacher. But I wasn't doing the breath work because I was so caught up in my world that I was like, I don't need that. Like, I'm okay. You know, you do your thing, I'll do mine.
So he was a breathwork teacher. You were working in the clubs. It's a very interesting like dichotomy of worlds. What do you think he was attracted to? Like, what brought him towards you?
We definitely had like an intellectual connection and a spiritual connection. Because even though like I was in that world, we definitely like connected in another way, and I think that's what I liked about him too, but I just wasn't open to doing the work that he was doing for some reason. I think I was scared of what was going to happen. Like, I really was trying to control, attaching to my life and my world the way that it was, because I knew if I dove in, things were going to shift for me. And yeah, they did. So there was one weekend where I was like so fed up with work. I had a bad weekend. I don't know what happened, but I just was like, I'm never doing this again. I can't do this again. And he's like, just stay home this weekend and just try the breath work. Try the breath work. I swear this is going to help you. Just try the breath work. And I did it and I hated it. I was like, this is so uncomfortable. I felt like I was holding my breath for like 40 minutes because I was doing these long, slow, deep breaths, and it was like so annoying. But I was like, I know there's something to this. And so then I started to feel a lot lighter in my body. Like at the time, I was still eating every night. I was drinking every night. And after a few days, I remember it was like 5 or 6 days of doing breath work, I started to feel like I wasn't hungry for like a lot of the foods that I was eating before. So I thought, why don't I try and do like a quick 7-day juice fast and do the breath work?
Just a quick
I'm
one.
just gonna like, yeah, just like experiment, see what happens. So I did the 7-day juice fast, did breath work every day. And that 7 days turned into 97 days of juice fasting. And this was coming from
Forgot
someone
about
who was,
this.
Yes. So
when you dropped this on me when we were in person, I was like, sorry, what? I completely forgot about this. Anyway, this is amazing. I completely forgot. Anyway, quick side note though.
Yeah.
Before I forget, across all of this, what a cliffhanger to leave it on.
Right.
And on the next episode, we will talk about...
Wait, what?
Wait for part 2. So it sounds like, you know, each path that you took came from some curiosity of some form.
Yeah.
Where do you think that curiosity came from?
I think from being suppressed so much as a child and like not being allowed to explore.
So how, because I mean, from my experience, curiosity is a wonderful thing that leads to pretty special outcomes in the world. And I think the successful people in the world are all just naturally curious. So I wonder, is there a way to create, like, let's just say, you know, you've got kids and you want to create a sense of curiosity, but in a healthy way. Like, how do you think you could have created that same sense of curiosity without the chaos of the suppression? And how would that happen?
Yeah, I think just giving yourself permission to do that. Because as society, not even in religion, but society as a whole, we're so suppressed to not question things and just do what your parents tell you, do what your teachers tell you. And it's like, very rarely do we give ourselves permission to try something new if we feel like it. Like, even if it's like tennis or trying a new yoga class or something, like it can start on a very small scale. And then you start to trust yourself. You start to build that trust. And you know, like, I've got me. I can go into the unknown because I've got me.
So did you have that sense of faith in yourself even from an early age?
I think Christianity really gave me that, because I moved to California when I was 17 to go to Bible school. And that was something that I was really passionate about and wanted to do. And that worked out. And then I wanted to move to Australia, and that worked out. And then, you know, like everything after that, I was like, if I can do that, I feel like I'm okay. I can do anything.
Cool. Okay. So anyway, 7-day fast, 97 days.
Right. Okay. So I was kind of like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I'm just testing this out. I really didn't want to eat. And this was before spending years binge eating and overeating and drinking. And all of a sudden I try this breath work and the fasting. And now I went 9 months with no alcohol and then 97 days with no food.
How did you feel?
I felt really good, really light and clear and young, very youthful. But almost like towards the end, I was feeling like I was on mushrooms all the time, like very emotional, couldn't really relate, in a dreamy state because you're not fully in your body.
Why is that?
It's just this state of emptiness makes you like more airy. And I that's why a lot of people do it, because they want to reach that state of like connection to divine source, all these things. And it's really beautiful, but it's just, I feel like it's not that relatable. And that was the conclusion that I came to. Have you ever done a fast?
So I just like can't even process what you just said. I don't even, I'm trying to like sit here and think, do I have anything that can kind of tie this into my existing experience? And I don't. Like, I have nothing.
What
and
about,
I have
like,
done a fast.
You have, yeah.
But only up to like 36 hours, 40 hours max.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, what about your 100 hours of meditation, or like the 10-day silent meditation? Like, that kind of puts you in a different state too.
Yeah. I was just sad the whole time. But yeah, no, the Vipassana was, it's not the real world though. So it's a challenging one to like, to kind of create parallels, because you are so far removed from any existence of like the modern world or the real world that you like I don't know what it would be like to navigate. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Because you're in the world, you're just doing your own thing, but you're not eating and you're doing breath work. So you're constantly being like noted, you know, there's notes from the world around you about where you're kind of sitting in the whole kind of scheme of things. But when you're doing the meditation course, like it seems as though you're just in your own little, you're just gone. So
in a different place. Yeah.
Completely different place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the light came back on after I moved my
I
hand.
noticed that. I was like, did you lose your power when you, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you've done the, you say 96 days?
97 days. Yeah. Yeah. So then basically what had happened is like, I was kind of questioning myself because I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is so weird. I've never been to this level, this thing before. I don't know what it is. And so I started posting about it on my Instagram when I got to like day 50, because I didn't want anyone to know until then, because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to keep doing this, like what's going on. And then I just felt like, no, this is like a new shift. I'm going to start sharing about it. And I started my YouTube channel talking about the breath work, talking about the juicing, the lifestyle. And I went to Costa Rica for a month, and I was like vlogging the whole thing. Like, this is what I'm drinking, and here's the coconuts, and like all, you know, the lifestyle of it. And somewhere along the line, I don't know when it happened, but a reporter found my page and wanted to do a story. And so I was kind of like, okay, like I didn't think it was going to be anything. And I just like asked her, okay, what do you want to know? Here's my pictures. This is what I do. You can look at my social media. And so I sent her over everything. And then about a week later, I was featured in Yahoo News, ABC News, major news headlines, the Daily Mail, Fox News, like all over. And it was these crazy headlines that were saying, it was kind of exaggerated. Like, I see what they're doing, but it was a little bit exaggerated, because what they said, it was like 25-year-old girl claims to not need food. She just breathes for energy. And like, you know, just kind of pushing it, like, and then they took all these bikini pictures off my Instagram. So it was like very clickbait. So yeah, that
welcome
was really
to the modern media.
Yeah.
Welcome to the media.
That was very interesting, very eye-opening for me.
What did you take from that experience?
The interpretations of things, like how the media kind of, I wouldn't say twisted it, because yeah, that was true, but also they just exaggerated so much. But then how offended people got. so upset. And they had to let me know about it. And that was honestly traumatizing in itself, because I didn't know how to handle that. I didn't ask for that. I didn't know that's what this was going to be. And people are coming onto my page saying that I'm promoting an eating disorder and I should get canceled. And this, you know, like YouTubers making videos making fun of me and like all these things. And I'm just like, I didn't ask for this. Like, I was so sensitive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was like,
how did you handle that? So run me through like the process of you surviving that mentally.
I turned off my phone for like 3 days.
It's not a bad start.
And then, yeah. I was staying with my mom at the time, so I was just like spending time in nature, like hanging out at home. And then...
So you just disconnected?
Yeah.
It's not a bad way to do it.
Yeah. Everyone I knew was telling me not to read the comments, but I couldn't help myself. So then I started reading the comments, and I just got really in my head. But I still knew I was onto something. I knew, like, yeah, maybe they're misinterpreting me, but I feel like this is cool that the message still gets to get out there. Like, people can see what's possible. So I still did interviews. I did more things after that in the media because I thought like this is going to be helpful. And I feel like I'm coming from a place of authenticity. Like this is my story. And if you want to know about it, like this is what I do. And yeah, I didn't feel like I needed to hide from that because it was really who I was. And I saw the opportunity too, because there was also a lot of good where people were reaching out to me and they were saying, how do you do this? I want to learn how to fast. I want to learn how to do this. Like, can you teach me? And that was the first time in my mind that I thought, wait, I could actually do this. Like this could be a thing for me. And that was cool to have that hope because up until then I didn't think I was going to leave the club. Like I was still working in the club at the time. And that was all I saw myself doing.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. I don't even know where to begin. Okay. So let's quickly talk about the specifics of the juice cleanse and the breath work that you're actually doing.
Okay.
What's like the 101 juice cleanse breath work for somebody who's listening that'd be interested in this?
Okay. So the breath work that I was doing was like very slow breathing. I did it for like at least 40 minutes a day, sometimes up to 3 hours a day.
Jeez.
And sun tanning was a big part of that as well, because the theory that I had was that energy is all around. It's not just in the food. You can take this energy from all living things. And I used to say like everything is food. Meaning like nature, friendship, relationships, movement, breath, sun. You can feed off of all of these things instead of having to go to the actual density of solid foods. And so a typical day at the time when I was doing it, I would have tea in the morning, coconut water, green juice, sometimes a fruit smoothie, sometimes a soup. And just have liquids all day. Like I still had quite a bit of calories.
Yeah, there's still calories there.
Yeah.
It's just different calories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the term that I coined was liquidarian. Not a breatharian, but a liquidarian because I'm still drinking.
Did you feel like fit and healthy and kind of strong, or were you like did you feel a bit weak? Because I know with a lot of this stuff, like it kind of sounds like the medical medium and stuff. It kind of sounds like you were going down the path of like basically eating a raw diet. You're eating a raw vegan diet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Without the food, without the chewing.
Right. Just blending everything. Yeah. It was basically a raw vegan diet, but blending everything.
Yeah. And how did you feel?
I felt good at first. But towards the end, I was getting very thin and losing my hair. And I don't know if the anxiety and the depression was from the fasting or if it was from because it was right around the time that I was in the news. So I think that I was also letting that stress get to me.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So there was definitely a period where I had very heavy depression.
Probably was the food. If you dig into, from what I understand, and my understanding is very limited, like the amino acids you get from kind of the meat and all those other elements, and there's a lot in that helps regulate your mood. And the hair thing is usually collagen.
Yeah.
So, and again,
exactly.
You're not going to be getting any collagen from anything that you're eating.
Right.
In that format. But it's a very interesting way to probably cleanse you. Like, it was likely a tool that helps you clear out a lot of the shit that you had leading up to that point. But it's not something that you needed to stick with forever. And there's nothing wrong with any of that.
Right. No. And I really didn't know if it was going to be forever. Like, I didn't think I needed it to be. I was just experimenting with what I was doing. So.
That's the thing with, I guess, people coming in on the tail, from a clickbaity headline, they'll think this person's doing this forever. Oh, they have to do this forever. Anytime that anyone deviates from what I've seen on this like clickbait article means that they're a fraud. And it's like, no, not quite.
That's interesting because I definitely had that when I started eating. I didn't want people to know. Like, it was this weird shame, this weird like identity that I had around being the breatharian. And then when I started
the
liquidarian, it was like I felt a shame and guilt around it. So that really messed up my relationship to food again. I had to learn how to heal again after that. Because even when I started eating, it was during the pandemic. That's when I realized what I was doing to my body, and I felt like I wanted to be more grounded. So I'd start eating, but my stomach hurt every time I would eat because my digestion was so thrown off. And so it was almost like I had to go through another recovery period and like learn how to digest and learn how to process food again.
How did you do that?
I just had to do it. Like, I just had to eat even when I didn't want to, and just eat even though I knew my stomach was going to hurt, and just let my stomach rebalance again. And like gaining weight again. I gained 20 pounds that year because I started eating again. And for me, like the whole mental aspect of that, of like thinking that people are going to find out, or I'm a fraud, or like not liking the way that I was looking. And it really got me in my head about too much that no one really cares about,
Yeah.
Like no one's really thinking about it anyway.
No one gives a shit. They go, they look at it, they either go, oh, that's interesting, or they have some visceral reaction. They post some shit on the internet and they go back to all of their other dramas in their life and they don't think about it again.
Exactly.
But it's your whole world, and it's like crushing you.
Yeah.
It's a very strange place to be.
Strange concept when we have that many people at our fingertips to watch us and comment, and it makes you think like it's a big deal. But now looking back, I'm like, that was not a big deal. That was not. People will not remember my name for that. Like that's not in my mind. It was extremely amplified because I never experienced anything like that before. Yeah.
Wild. So you've done this, you've gotten through that turmoil with the media, and then what's happened? You've begun to explore helping people.
Yeah, so that was when I started teaching, because people were reaching out to me and I was like, I want to teach this. I want to help people do this. And so I was experimenting, doing a little bit of coaching here and there, but not really knowing how to navigate that. Like, that is a whole nother skill to learn in its own, is the business side. And so I was still working in the club until 2020. The pandemic hit and all the clubs shut down. And I was like, okay, I guess this is my only backup plan, is to teach breathwork. I'm going to be a breathwork teacher now. This is what I'm, from server to breathwork teacher. Here we go. And I had no idea what to do. Like, obviously, like no one's there to teach me like how to do a business or how to make courses or how to any of that. So I just went on Instagram Live every single day and taught a breathwork class. And I just showed up. And people loved it. Like, some people did them every day with me. Some people really resonated. Some people wanted to hire me as a coach, so it started opening up doors for me to actually get more practice in teaching and connecting with people. And so, I mean, that's something that I kind of wanted to highlight, is like, when it comes to the business and following your passion, I had no plan. I had no one to tell me what a plan could be, but I just started doing it. It just started showing up. It's that simple.
Did you have savings at that time? So you're in a solid financial position to be able to have it?
No plan B.
You had no savings?
No plan B. No.
Oh my God. Okay. So it was like sink or swim at that point.
No, what I would do in the club is like, I would go and make all this money. I'd make like $15,000 in a week, and then like go and spend it, or like wait until I ran out of money to go back to the club.
Yeah, right.
And so my last day at the club, I didn't know was going to be my last day at the club.
Yeah.
Because it was random. The pandemic hit and all of a sudden I was out of money and out of work. And so, I didn't have a backup plan. I think that's part of the reason why, though, like I'm still doing what I'm doing today, 3 years later, because I knew this is what I had to do. Like, it was like, make it or nothing. Like, this, no plan B. There's no going back. And so I had to go all in. I had to dive into the deep end and just figure out how to build a business and figure out how to do it from nothing.
You basically burned the boats, sink or swim. You're in the pandemic. You have become a breathwork teacher.
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
Yeah. So I started teaching courses on how to stop binge eating using
Can you help me
breathwork.
with that?
Absolutely.
Is there like a quick synopsis that we can do?
30 minutes of breathwork every morning on an empty stomach before you eat, before you check your phone, before you do anything. Because this is interesting. Our brain automatically goes to the addiction of dopamine, to the first hit of dopamine that we give it. So when you wake up and you immediately check your phone and start scrolling, that's the first hit of dopamine that you get. And you automatically go to that in moments of stress and in moments of anxiety or moments of like trying to fill the time. You'll just do that all day. Or if the first thing you do in the day is drink coffee or eat or I don't know, something like that, then that's what your body and your brain is going to be looking for all day when you're feeling out of balance. But if you can do the breath work and get a hit of dopamine from doing breath work first thing in the morning, now all of a sudden your brain starts looking for that when you're feeling stressed and when you're feeling out of balance. And so that basically takes care of the stress eating. If you're turning to food, if you're turning to consumption in moments of stress, you can then train your brain to turn to the breath. And then another side of that is like the emotional release. A lot of times people will eat because of stuck emotions or something that they haven't processed. And so the breath work allows you to work with your body to release those things. And you may have to cry, you may have to let it out, but at least you're working with the body to let it all go. And then you no longer have that void to fill.
So my challenge personally is late night eating. I have the amazing willpower. I can I haven't eaten today. I've had a coffee and water and I did a cold plunge and then I came here. Like that's been my morning. Journaled.
Nice.
Great. Yeah. Journaled in the sun, 15 minute and a half cold plunge. No, yes. Cause I set up this little like chest freezer.
Okay.
We've kind of sealed it and my friend who's a electrician, we bought this thing on Amazon that just turns on and off the power based on a temperature range. So we've got this probe in there and it's just constantly at either 0.5 or 4 degrees. So every morning, it's so good. Every morning now, I hate my fucking mornings because I'm waking up and I get out of bed and I'm like, I'm going to have to go do this again. It's so bad.
Wow.
But every morning.
How do you feel like that's helped you?
I'm feeling a bit more limber. Like I'm feeling like my body doesn't feel like my joints feel nicer. I don't really need to be like, I think I'm going to go on another coffee detox soon because I don't feel the need to have that morning coffee because it's like, it's funny. I'll do this minute and a half. I'll hate my life and I'll get out and be like, and then I go have a nice warm cold shower to just like it's not even nice it's warm it's cold.
It's cold but it feels warm.
It's so warm.
Oh my gosh.
So I guess the point I was making was that my mornings and my days are pretty solid, but get me to like either if I'm tired, all I want is chocolate. If I'm like stressed, all I want to do is check out and watch TV and eat food. And then it gets to every night, even if I've had a good day, it gets to like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. at night. And all I want is to sit there, watch The Office and just passively eat snacks. And I just don't know how to break it. And I'm talking to this point of like, I'll have this like full mental battle with myself for 45 minutes and I have this like deep urge to do this that I will fight against for like half an hour and I'll give in eventually.
Wow.
And it's kind of fucked and I don't know what to do. So I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are around the breathwork element. And it's only at night. Like I can say no to everything during the day.
Yeah. That's how I was too. It was always at night and then it was like this crazy, like I would, the mental battle with the food. Like, no, I'm not doing it. Yes, you are. And then like that whole thing.
It's draining.
Yeah, and it makes you feel crazy, right? Like insane around food.
You should see my housemate. I'm sitting there with my housemate and I'm like, should I get an ice cream? No, I'm not getting an ice cream. I'm going to get an ice cream. It's like, it's just like, what the fuck is going on in your head?
Oh my God.
And then I get the ice cream. More often than not, I get the ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're like, I'm going to regret it if I don't. Like, you want to go to bed feeling happy.
I don't know. I know I'm going to regret it if I do, but I still do it.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah, for me, it was like, I think more of the emotional release, because that was more of like a body somatic way to release the trauma that I experienced from my whole life and the suppression. And I think I was using food to fill that void. So it was definitely a journey for me of uncovering those traumas, uncovering the emotions to release that, allow myself to feel it. And then I didn't need the food anymore. But another thing I would say is like now eating breakfast is a big deal for me to avoid the late night eating.
Really?
Yeah. Like I know the intermittent fasting trend, and like I did that for many years. But now I find if I eat eggs for breakfast or something like savory, like vegetables or toast or something, I don't feel the need to eat at night. So I think there is some practical balance in that as well. Because it could be a physical thing. You could just actually be hungry if you're not eating all day.
Yeah, I have. There's this vicious cycle happening at the moment. Like I'll not eat much during the day, and then I'll slowly build up. Maybe after lunch I'll start eating, and then I'll have like a solid, like healthy lunch, and then I'll have like a pretty solid, healthy dinner most of the time. But then it's like gets to late at night, and all I want to do is like I'm slowly improving it. Like as opposed to eating chocolate, it moved to dark chocolate. As opposed to eating like Pringles, it's moved to like avocado oil kettle chips. So it's not like, as opposed, if I want chocolate, I'm trying to like move the chocolate away from chocolate into like blueberries and Greek yogurt and a little bit of honey. So it's like, the preference is I still feel like shit in the mornings because I'm like eating up until the last hour of the day or so.
And then that's what makes you want to start fasting during the day.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to fix this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a crazy cycle. That's why I feel like eating breakfast is a pattern interrupt, but like, and it may feel weird the first few days, but if you do that, it's like, it really does keep you full during the day and at night. On more of like the physical aspect, there's that side, but then there's obviously the managing your stress. Maybe it's a stress thing and the breathwork helps with that. But then the emotional side of what are you holding on to, if that is a thing. And when I was experimenting with this, I kind of came up with a theory that certain emotions create certain cravings for foods. So kind of like what you were saying, like when you're stressed, you want dark chocolate. And when you're tired, you want, I guess, like anything. Or
sugar
whatever
mainly.
You were saying
I think
before.
It's sugar.
Okay.
Sugar it's like my brain is going, I think my brain is going, give me glucose. I need energy as quick as possible. Shoot it into my veins.
Just something.
Yeah, just like, give it to me.
Yeah, that's real. No, I think it's like when you're sad and when you're depressed, it's more you want like the sweet and soft foods like chocolate and ice cream. And then when you're angry and frustrated, a lot of times that's when you'll go for the chips or like crunchy, salty foods.
Really?
And I think there's like a lot of correlation between the emotion and the type of foods that you actually want. And maybe it's different, different times, different seasons.
I'll have to think about that when I'm kind of, it's 1 a.m. and I'm like...
You're like, what am I feeling right now?
I've tried everything so far. Like I've tried instead of like I'm getting every now and again I'll get to it. I'll get on top of it. I'll feel this urge and maybe one day I'll think not today and I'll go to buy something and then I'll turn around and I'll go home or I'll swap it out with something healthier or I've tried journaling my feelings in that moment. None of it's consistent.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I wonder if have you tried the breath work before?
So when you say the breath work, I still don't understand what the breath work is.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of different ways. So like breath work is an umbrella term, I would say, for like a lot of different methods, because it's not anything new. It's been around for thousands of years, but there's like literally hundreds of ways to practice. I would put them in two categories. It's like stimulating and tranquilizing. So stimulating would be like the Wim Hof breath work, where it's like fast and rapid and you're like moving through a lot. And this is really good for like quick emotional release. Sometimes it does make you actually like want to cry or different memories come up, and that's normal. And then there's like the tranquilizing breath work, and that's like really slow, peaceful breathing through the nose. And personally, that's what I like to do. And I feel like I've had the most healing from that type of breath work, because it helps to stimulate or relax the nervous system and puts your body in a state of rest and digest and healing. So you're not constantly looking for the next dopamine hit or the next thing to get your mind stimulated. You're just happy to be grounded in the present moment.
So what does that breath work look like? Let's just say I've gotten to, next time I'm feeling this desire to binge on something, it's 6 p.m., it's 7 p.m. at night, and I'm like, I deserve this. But in the back of my mind, I know, don't do it. What would you suggest?
Well, okay, first of all, food isn't bad, so like don't judge it if you do want to eat it, right? Because the judgment and the guilt makes it even worse for you. So I think that's like the first mindset. Like, don't judge yourself for being hungry. Don't judge yourself for wanting food. Like, just.
But I'm not hungry. This is the key thing. I'm not hungry.
Okay.
It's a habit, and it's like a enjoyment of something, but it's not a hunger base, because I've already generally resolved the hunger element with like a big meal.
Right.
That's healthy. That's usually healthy.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so that's when I think this is where the breath work is really important before you eat, though, because it does like adjust your body to a different frequency. But the breath work that I do is 1 breath per minute. So it's really, really, really slow, and it helps you to listen to your thoughts, listen to what's going on, because sometimes you can't even hear yourself if there's so many distractions. So basically how that looks is like breathing really slowly through the nose, 15 seconds in, 15-second hold at the top.
Oh my God.
15-second exhale, and then 15-second hold at the bottom.
That's what. Is that possible to do without practice or training? Do you have to work up to it?
You kind of have to work up to it. It depends. Some people can do it. It depends. But when I'm teaching courses or working with people, I try to work them up to it, because I don't want someone to try it and be like, oh my God, this is impossible. I'm never doing this again. Right? Like, I want to make it a little bit easier. So you can start at like 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds out, 4 seconds hold. And then
so it's an
like
extended box breath. You're basically doing an extended box breath.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few other methods that go with it, because the breath work that I actually do is called tumo breathing, and it's like a Taoist practice. And so one of the things is when you get to the exhale, you suck your stomach in all the way to your belly button reaches the front of your spine. Have you seen those before? The stomach vacuum?
My friend actually a guy I met in Tulum as well. He's a breathwork coach as well, and does nutrition work, and he put it on his Instagram, and I was like, can you show me what this is? Because this looks really interesting.
That's so crazy. Yeah.
All my podcast guests are people from Tulum or New York.
That's probably where you're going to meet the most interesting people.
Yeah. Maybe I'll move to Tulum, hang out,
for sure.
And all I'll do is just podcasts.
Network, meet people.
That'd be sick.
That would be cool.
Bear with me.
Yeah. For sure, that would be fun. But yeah, so like the stomach vacuum helps to actually detoxify your organs, and then you do the organ massage. I don't know if your friend did that, but like you take your hands and like literally move your organs around. It's so weird. When I show people, they're like, "What? This is breath work? What?" But I'm like, yeah, it's part of it. Like, it actually really does help with I don't know. I wish I knew how to explain everything scientifically, but it's more so about like detoxing the organs. Also, a big part of it is 70% of toxins come out of your breath. So when you are actually breathing deep and actually breathing all the way, you're able to expel toxins, which oftentimes is what's causing a lot of these cravings in the first place. So more on like the physical level, that's another reason why that helps.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've got me like wanting to do that.
Do you want to try it?
Do you want to try it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay. I have to move the chair back
okay.
a little bit.
All right. So run me through what to do.
Okay. So first let's start by taking, wait, can you hear me? 10 breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth, like kind of quickly. So I'll guide you. But then when you breathe, you want your belly to go out on the inhale and then contract it in on the exhale. So can you try that? Put your hand on your belly. I don't know if you can see my stomach, but like you need to feel that movement.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try 10 breaths first just to like warm up your body. So close your eyes, drop your shoulders, and 10 breaths through the nose. One more. Exhale all the way, let all the air out. Try to suck your stomach in. So you're bringing your belly button to the front of your spine and gently do an organ massage, bringing everything in.
Wait. So breathing out and then sucking my stomach in.
It feels weird at first, but you got it. And then you take a slow breath through the nose. And as you're slowly breathing in, you're pushing your belly out and filling it up like a balloon. And then you reach the top of the inhale. You're sitting up straight and tall, sending all the energy up to the top of your head. And hold. And then when you exhale, slowly breathing out through the nose. Slowly contracting your belly back in. That's one breath, and that was probably one breath a minute.
Oh my God.
Do you see how you can really slow it down?
Oh my God. I'm so lightheaded.
Really?
Yeah.
From one
but
breath.
like in a good way.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things there's a couple of things that we probably need to talk about this offline, because there's a couple of things I've noted with breath. Like I get really a lot of like saliva when I'm trying to breathe. So I'm constantly gulping, which makes it hard to just keep the continuous breath going.
Interesting.
And have a think about it and come back to me on what you think later on. And then the second thing is when I'm doing the like deep breathing in through my like stomach, my lower back hurts. So like it really hurts. It's like super tight. And I don't know. I've noticed that those two things are a bit of a challenge. So it's like my core's so tight. Yeah. My stomach's just in knots constantly and my lower back's weak. And it affects my ability to deep breathe, but I haven't been able to fully resolve that yet. So, yeah. Breathing 101.
The thing I always had to remember when I was starting it too is that like breathwork is work. First of all, it's not supposed to be easy, and it's a muscle. Like you have to practice it. So that whole thing with the diaphragm and then like the organ massages and all of that, like it is going to feel weird at first because you've never done it. But eventually it starts to feel so good and so relaxing. And I look forward to it, but it takes time to get there. I think for me, it was like almost 3 months before I actually liked it.
Every day?
I was doing it every day for almost 3 months, and I didn't look forward to it until that point because it was a lot to overcome. You're overcoming your body. You're controlling your body. We don't do that very often unless you're in an ice bath or at the gym. So it's definitely a mental practice and a physical practice at the same time.
What have you... So, I mean, I want to continue with this story from here, but I think we've gotten pretty close to the point you're at now.
Yeah.
Kind of. We've gotten close. So, what has breathwork done to help you become the person you are now?
Well, the biggest thing that I think of is like the anxiety and the stress that I used to live in constantly, and the people pleasing. I think a lot of times the drinking came out of a place of people pleasing. And now I don't have either of those things in my life. And so that has been able to give me confidence and control over my life again. Trust in myself. I kind of had that before, but I think it definitely strengthened the trust that I have.
All from breathing.
You're keeping a promise. I'm keeping a promise to myself. So when I show up every day, then it's like it's helping me to know that I'm going to do what I'm saying I'm going to do. It's a lot, and I feel like it never really stops. Like there's so many benefits to it, and it just keeps getting better. That's why I don't want to stop doing it.
So would you suggest that what we've done today is kind of the basis of where to begin with the techniques that you've been teaching?
I would say that's definitely not beginners.
Okay.
I kind of gave you an advanced quick tutorial, but that's what I practice. I really love doing that breath. But in the beginning, I would recommend doing faster breathing, like Wim Hof, or maybe like a connected breathing, like something laying down. There's so many different ways to do it. And yeah, if I'm starting people off, I won't have them do 1 breath per minute right away because that can be really difficult to do. And I think when I started doing it, that's what I was doing. And that's probably why it was so hard. And my whole goal, like, I don't want people to try it and be like, I'm never going to do this again. So I want it to be easy and enjoyable.
Make it achievable to build the habit.
As much as possible. Yeah.
Would you be open to putting together like a bit of a plan for me around the breathwork side of things?
Yeah, for sure.
Because I think I need to work on this.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I have guided audios too, like guided classes that I could send you. So you could just like put your headphones in and do that until you get it, until you're like, okay, I'm good on my own. But that's a good place to start.
I mean, my challenge that I find is I've got so many things I want to do in my morning, and I just end up spending 2 hours doing stuff and not working. Like, just don't do anything.
What's your morning routine?
My ideal one or my actual one? My ideal one takes me 3 hours.
Your ideal one takes you 3 hours.
Okay, so my morning routine is I'll wake up, I'll make my bed straight away, I'll open the blinds straight away to get sun in, I'll go out, and first thing I do is tongue scrape, and then I'll oil pull, and then I'll take a little 5-minute journal and like a little book that I'm reading, and I'll go outside in the sun, ideally on grass, and I'll sit there and the grass is a grounding element, just like to get straight onto the earth. And then I'll do like a 5-minute journal or, a little bit of journaling, very tiny amount. And ideally I'm up early, but I really struggle to get up early, especially because I'm working nights a lot. So I'm really battling with that all the time. All I want to do is be getting up at 5 a.m. without an alarm. But, I go to bed at 2, 3 in the morning sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's in conflict, but I'm sure at some point in my life, I'm building up all of this, and then at some point my life will be a bit different, and I'll be able to make use of the early morning as the final piece of all of this. But so I'll journal, I'll read a little bit of this book or whatever. I'll be doing the like oil pulling while I do that. And then I'll get rid of that, brush my teeth, drink one of these, like a liter or 750 of water with some salt.
Okay.
And then I will do a cold, at the moment, I'll do a cold plunge, minute and a half straight in the cold plunge, cold shower. And then I'll ideally meditate in front of a red light panel for 20 minutes. Okay. 10 minutes if I don't have much time, 20 minutes if I've got a little bit of time to spare. Ideally, it would be an hour. 30 minutes to an hour would be like ideal, but I'm not doing that at the moment, and I haven't done that since the Vipassana. So I did it for like a week, and then I was like, nope. And then I will, if I've got the whole morning, do whatever the hell I want. I haven't looked at my phone yet. I will then take my dog for a walk. Ideally, listen to some podcasts, listen to something that I can learn from. If I have to take my phone, I'll take my phone. If I can avoid it, I'll avoid it. And I'll go work out, and then I'll come back, and I've walked my dog, I've worked out, I've come back. It's probably like 3 hours into my day by then. And then I'll start on whatever I want to work on for the day. Okay. And that's kind of my morning. Ideally, I haven't looked at a text or a call or anything in the first part of that day. But it's a bit challenging once I get on my phone.
No breakfast or coffee?
A coffee, probably on the way to the gym.
Okay.
Ideally, an hour and a half outside of waking up.
I love that morning.
Yeah,
that sounds amazing.
That's the goal, but fuck me, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very often.
Oh my gosh, no,
it's hard to.
Amazing.
I think it just takes a long time.
Yeah.
Ideally, I'd be doing like morning pages or some like serious journaling around that, but I just don't have the space.
Right.
Because the problem I have at the moment is I start doing that ideal morning routine for like my mind, but I'm also hyper anxious on the fact that I've got all this work to do, and I can't like enjoy it because I feel like I should be doing other stuff. Yeah. So some days when I feel that way, I just wake up, go on my computer straight away. Wake up, drink some water, go on the computer.
Yeah. But I've had seasons like that too.
Sometimes maybe you need that.
I think sometimes you need that. I think just to test yourself. You just drink coffee, go to work, and like see what happens, see what you can get done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the routine.
I love that.
But it's good. It's good. I think it's helped me a lot to be like, I feel like I'd probably be a lot more anxious and I'd be a lot worse of a person if I didn't have these kind of practices in my life. But I've just had it as a part of my life since early 20s, so I don't even really know what that could possibly. I don't know what my life could be like. Would have been like
that since the early 20s.
It started off with meditation in 22, 23. I started like meditating, and then
how did you discover that?
I kept I would read like Business Insider articles, and it's like the top things CEOs do, and meditation would pop up a lot. Okay. So I would continue to just see it and be like, oh, that's dumb. And then I would see it again and be like, oh, well, okay. And then I'd see it again. And then I was in my my engineering, what's the word? I've lost the word. Placement, my engineering uni placement. And the receptionist we just start talking, and she's like, oh yeah, I use Headspace. I use it before I go to bed. And then I was just like, oh, that's interesting. So I downloaded Headspace, and then I did the 30 days, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And yeah, I just kind of on and off started meditating most mornings since then. So that was like 22. And then the cold showers and the cold therapy began when I was 24. I remember I kept hearing about it. And my first cold shower was in Japan in the middle of winter. I remember it at the hostel. I was like, well, I guess maybe today's the day. And I just turned it to cold. Wow. And then I've been doing it most days ever since. At least like a cold finish. Some days I'm sending it and doing a whole cold shower, but that's just not fun. It's a horrible experience. It's probably worse than the ice bath, to be honest. I'd rather do the ice bath and just get it done.
Shower. Yeah.
Yeah. Then shower. Just just sit there with a cold shower for not even a warm shower, just a cold shower. But like, I'd rather do the ice bath than to not do the ice bath and just have a 2-minute cold shower. It's like more annoying.
I see. Yeah, it is annoying. Yeah, it is super
It's just annoying. But the ice bath is so intense that you don't have time to be annoyed.
Because it's just all at once.
It's like, I'm not thinking about anything but my breath.
No, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah. Cold shower is just like, you're just getting hit. But maybe that's the challenge.
Yeah.
To be happy in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my TED Talk. A couple of things I wanted to run by you. Let's take a few steps back. What do you think the value of therapy was in this whole experience? Because I'm a huge proponent of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the awareness piece, because I didn't even know what was going on. I never revisited my childhood. I never knew that it was different or obscure or anything like that. So it brought so much awareness to why I was dealing with the anxiety, the binge eating, the way I was feeling. And it also gave me more empowerment to just realize that it's okay to feel those things. Yeah, unpacking all of that. I never had done that before. So that was like peeling back almost like the dirt under the rug, so to speak.
Could you have done it without the formal therapy?
I don't think I would have allowed myself to go there because I was so scared.
So you think it was integral to the process?
I think so. Yeah. I think it was really important because it was also because that was the first time like counseling or being counseled by somebody that was outside of the Christian church. So it was more like practical and scientific rather than just like kind of fluffy. You know what I mean? Like it was more in a masculine perspective of like, let's look at what happened. Let's look at this outside perspective. And like, you can see why you are the way you are and why these things all happened. And it just made more sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So on the church side of things, I'd love to get your take on this. There's I'm kind of wrestling with this idea of most people seem to be pretty miserable. Like a lot of people seem to be miserable these days. And it seems as though, well, I guess I can't speak for how people felt in, maybe the 50s, 40s, 60s, whatever. But there was a much higher focus on those traditional ideals and those traditional religious ideals as like how you should be as a human and how you should structure your family. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering whether the loss of religion in society is hurting our happiness as a society because we've lost our traditional ideals in place of, I guess, everyone's dating casually, a lot of people everyone's vaping, people are just on like it seems like it's just spreading into this chaotic space. And I don't know if it's due to that, to not having the frameworks of the religion that got us to the point where we had the space for that freedom. And what are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think you're right because a part of religion is teaching right living, correct living, the way that we're supposed to live. And I think I really appreciate what Jesus taught about living in the kingdom of heaven, which is just a perspective. It's just a shift of your mindset of how you want it to be. And that kingdom of heaven is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, and self-control. And those are all very important values to have, whether you believe in Jesus or not. And I think there has been a very huge rebellion against the traditional structure, and it's not healthy. It's not the way that we're supposed to live. Like what you were saying, like the casual sex, the junk food, the drugs, the vaping, the alcohol, like all of that. I mean, there's a reason why that's not included in the traditional values because that's not going to serve our highest good overall.
So how does somebody find a way to navigate this world if they'd want to reject religion but then also want to have the I don't know. It's a very fine line. Like between you and I have found like a pretty solid path. Like, I don't know where you're at on drinking, but it's been nearly 6 months since I had a drink because I just stopped. I'm like, I'm going to have a break for a bit.
Wow.
Just haven't started.
That's huge.
It's not planned.
How has it been?
I don't know. Fine. It's just is what it is. Yeah. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I got through Christmas. Christmas was probably the hardest. I got through New Year's at a music festival. And then from there on, I was like, this is sweet. This is fine. I might be going to Coachella. I'm going to Coachella. This will be out afterwards and we'll see how I go not drinking there at all, which is probably fine. I didn't really drink much last time. But yeah, I don't know. I might drink tomorrow. I might never drink again. I don't know. Just don't feel the need to have it. But we've kind of got to this point through a childhood that was very religiously focused. So maybe we have taken some of the better practices from it and applied it to a holy, spiritual and holistic life that isn't just religious focus. But for the normal person out there, we haven't had similar lives to them. And it can go one of two ways. It can go to complete extremes where they go drugs, alcohol, just that death spiral that you were probably almost on your way down until you found the breathwork side of things. Or you can go the other end and you go, yeah, you know what? I don't really agree with this anymore. It doesn't really align with me, but there's some good shit. There's some good stuff here. So do you have any thoughts around what people can do to begin to work towards a bit more contentment through a traditional ideal in their life that doesn't focus on religion, if religion doesn't give them that calling to?
You mean even outside of spirituality?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Is spirituality the only way? Maybe.
I think part of what was so valuable in traditional values is having a purpose or having something to like serve, a community that's all doing the same thing. And I think a lot of people are lacking that right now. Like having a bigger purpose and having like-minded community with that same purpose. Because life can feel very alone if you're just going through the system, going to school, working a job, trying to cope with all of the emotions. It can feel very lonely and it can feel very confusing and dark. Like, why am I even doing these things? So outside of religion, I think you can still find a purpose. If that purpose is rooted in spirituality, family, maybe building something within your community, maybe, something bigger than you that keeps you going. Do you feel like you have that?
Not at the moment. I did, but I don't think I have that at the moment. I'm just wandering a bit now. It all after Mexico and America, I've just been wandering.
Wow.
I've been following pathways that have just been coming to me. Not necessarily whether they're the right way. I'm trying to juggle the survival, not losing, not destroying what I've built, and also trying to find what is calling me next. And I don't have an answer for any of that yet. But, to be fair, it was it's been a complete shift. Like going from, prior to that trip, I was happy in Geelong. I was happy in this small town. I had my house. I had my dog. I was like, I'll meet a girl and I'll settle down and I'm good. I got, business opportunities. Yeah, we're good. Did this and did that trip. Lived in Tulum, met all you guys and went to New York, then just met a bunch of other people and had a bunch of opportunities come up. Then went straight into the Vipassana. And I was like, and I haven't even stopped to reflect. And then I went straight into work and I was like, I still haven't really peeled back what the fuck happened. Yeah. But there's something shifted. Something's fundamentally shifted.
Big shift from what you thought you were going to be doing.
Yeah, I came back and I'm like, this place is not it anymore. So I instantly found a place in Melbourne and that's already begun to change the direction of my life. And And, as I was saying, a lot of the business things that I was doing prior to that were holding me there, majority of them have kind of either gone or have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I don't know what happens, but it's we'll see where it lands in the next, I don't know how long it's going to take for this to settle and something.
No, I was going to say it sounds like it's still shifting.
It's shifting so much. Yeah.
How old are you again?
I'm 31 in September.
Do you know about the Saturn's return?
I do know about the Saturn's return. I've heard this about 4 times.
Recently?
Just in the last year. Oh, yeah, Saturn's return.
Oh, yeah, Saturn's return. Yeah, so it sounds like you're coming to the end of it age-wise, but that's when, that's the time in your life when everything crumbles and it has to crumble in order to be rebuilt. Yeah. So, okay, so you were in this crumble phase. Yours is a crumble cookie phase. And then, now you're going to just invite everything else to be rebuilt. And it's like everything you thought was going to happen is shifting. I don't know. That's what I feel. Mm-hmm. It's exciting times. It can be very tough to not know, but you just have to surrender to the unknown. And trust that what's on the other side is even better, even bigger, even greater,
we'll find out.
Even richer. It's coming.
Yeah, it's chaotic though.
Yeah.
It's very chaotic.
Just keep breathing. Just keep breathing through it. That's how you get through it.
Yeah. Yep. Working on it. So,
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so what do you think about the lack of, not the lack of purpose, but the lack of values in society?
Do I?
What do you think about it?
I don't know. People feel lost.
You think so?
People are lost. Yeah. Yeah. So many people are just living unconsciously these days. And they're caught in the cycles of their habits.
Mm-hmm.
But then also there's this interesting shift where people are also hyper aware on a lot of things that probably wouldn't even be in their frame of thinking, like breathwork, like meditation, like a lot of Eastern philosophies. The Western world is shifting in a very strange way. And I don't know, I can't put my finger on it, but I've been talking to my girlfriend about this, this traditional ideals element for quite a while now, because, I spent 2 years just doing whatever, just living my life and not really putting any kind of purpose in the relationships that I was in and all that sort of stuff. And she's very different. She's like, I'm very focused on the people in my life, and I've gone, okay, this is interesting. It's a different way to be, and I'm trying to work out whether that's one way's right and one way's wrong, or whether they have their pros and cons, or yeah, but I don't really have the framework to work off until somebody says, oh, this is how you should be. You kind of just let's try this. Oh, let's do this.
That's what this time is for, really, to experiment and see what works for you.
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people go down the party route or different things to experiment and just see is this what I like? Are these the type of people I like? And maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but everyone has different alignment.
Yeah. I don't know. But then how do you make decisions off the back of what your gut says to you? Sometimes these decisions seem fucking wild.
Like what?
My gut is telling me I need to get to New York. But there's a lot of consequences to that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You have opportunity there. You know people there. You're following your heart or your gut or whatever you want to call it. But the consequences would be what you're leaving behind. But how many times is taking a chance going to be easy breezy, smooth? I feel there's always going to be some sacrifice, in my experience.
There's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah, there's a lot on the table.
There's a lot on the table.
Yeah.
But then does any of it really matter? I don't know.
It's tough to know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. That's that was a kind of like low-key joke I made a year ago when I was over there, and I'm like, I'm going to move here, and that feeling hasn't dissipated. So
yeah, and usually what you can't stop thinking about, like you're not going to stop thinking about until you do it.
Or you regret it.
Regret not doing it?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because I feel like you regret more of the things you didn't do than the things you did. In most cases.
Probably in all cases.
Yeah.
If you're open-minded to what follows.
Yeah, because even the decisions that you make most of the time that are not the best in terms of creating the outcome, still, like, I feel like I don't regret like moving to Vegas and living that life, because I learned so much and I became a different person because of it.
Well, would you even be here? Probably not.
No.
Are you happy here?
Pardon?
Are you happy here?
Here, yeah. Where I've arrived today and where I'm going tomorrow and next year, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for it.
And we're the culmination of our past experiences. So what would you say to yourself? What would you say to yourself in the throes of the chaos when you didn't have a plan and you didn't have any money and you didn't know whether anything would work, but you felt this little speck of, this makes sense? What would you say to yourself in that moment now to help yourself have some peace about it all?
I would say just go for it. Even if it doesn't make sense, you can make it work. You can always make things work. And if it doesn't, then you'll end up right back where you are now. So it's not really like losing anything. Also, you can't really lose what's meant for you. You are a perfect match to everything that is in alignment to your life today, tomorrow, and in the future. So if it's really meant for you, you can't lose anything. And what's not meant for you will fade away very quickly. That's what's so cool about living in alignment, is that it can be really scary because you have to go into the unknown. You have to let go of things that are out of alignment, which are usually the comfortable things. But once you see, if you could see for yourself how good life would be on the other side of the attachment to the known, you'd be so quick to cut the cords, because on that other side, that's where your heart is pulling you. And I feel like you won't ever stop thinking about it until you make it happen. Right? Because like, what's the alternative, or what's the plan B? Like, what's the second option?
Just chilling.
Yeah. Cool story.
I just need a break. I just need to go and do a ball and do nothing for a while. But I keep doing stuff.
That's life, though. That's the story to tell. No, I'm kind of with you, though. Like, to be honest, like, I do feel like I just want to stay put. I don't want to do anything crazy. Like, I've had a crazy last 10 years, and I'm like, and living in Tulum, running a business, like doing the things I am doing now. Yeah, this is like kind of crazy, but to me, it's still like peaceful. At least because I have like I know where I'm gonna go. I know what I'm doing. I have a plan, and it's like I can stick to that. But also, I'm like, if something crazy did come up, like if I got invited to be on a reality TV show, like maybe I would do that.
I got invited to be on a dating show last week.
You did?
No. I said
Which
no.
one?
Love Triangle or some shit.
Oh, I don't know that one.
I don't know. It's some like, I don't know.
Why did you say no? Oh,
I got a girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
fun.
a good reason.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Who knows what life will throw your way?
Mm-hmm.
Guess we have to just roll with it.
Yeah.
Hope for the best. So you mentioned a little while ago, and I'm going to loop back to it, the psychedelics and yoga, and let's talk about that impact on, your life and how it helped to shape you into who you are now.
The psychedelics really helped me to see what was going on in my whole life of suppression. See, when you're suppressed, you don't know it because no one's going to tell you that. It's like slaves didn't know they were slaves. They didn't call them slaves. So when you think about that, it's like, how are you going to know if you're enslaved or if you're chained in the mind in some way until you're out of it?
And you think psychedelics helped get you outside of your box?
I think so. It helped me to see what was possible and helped me to see, gave me this picture of my life of how much I had been suppressed in my early years, and that it really wasn't about judgment and shame and guilt and all the things that I experienced. It was only ever about love and coming back to loving yourself. I think that's the biggest thing that mushrooms specifically has taught me.
Cool. Self-love. I had a similar experience a couple of years ago, and I think maybe I'm overdue for a heroic dose. It's been 2020, October 2021 was the last time I did it.
Okay.
And then a lot's happened since then.
What happened when you did it?
I was actually going to do a whole podcast episode on this, but
ooh, yeah, you should.
I just need to figure out, because prior to one going to Africa, we could do topics with just a bouncing off a story off one another, but now I have to actually talk to the camera for an extended period of time by myself. So I need to get the confidence to be able to do that. So it's on the list, but it's a little bit daunting.
To do a solo podcast.
To do a solo stare at the camera, half an hour or longer planned podcast episode on a topic. So I really need to I think I just need to sit down and plan it, and I should be fine.
Okay.
So we'll get to that. But the short story was that I was just feeling called to doing some psychedelic therapy, and it was during the COVID lockdown period. I didn't really want to spend $1,000 on the guy that I found, so I thought maybe I can do this myself. So I took myself to Lawn, which is like a coastal town about an hour outside of where I lived. Got a hotel room because that was a place of that I really loved, and also a place that had a bit of pain attached to it. So I went there and I did 4 grams of mushrooms. I had 4 to 7 hertz healing music just playing in my headphones the whole time.
Yeah.
I got myself some food. I just did a little fruit platter and got a bunch of sticky notes and just put these things I wanted to work on and put them on the wall. So I just sticky noted on the wall of all these things that I felt were issues. And I just had my yoga mat. So I did it. I wrote some notes saying the time it began and any kind of notes that I could, and they get more and more incoherent as you go down the line. But yeah, I turned my phone off for about a day. So 24-hour period, just phone off. Had somebody on support just in case shit hit the fan. I was I told a friend, I'm hey, I'm doing this. And she's yeah, cool. Well, you can call me if you need and I can, come and help. But I didn't. And then, I just went on this little journey, had a couple of grams to start and then had another couple of grams after that. Maybe an hour in, and there was a lot in there. Do you want to know the specifics of the trip? What I actually did?
Kind of.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever done that much in one go.
That's where you have to go.
I know. I've heard about it, but I just haven't done that yet.
It's full on. Like I spent a couple of hours just with like an eye mask on the floor, just lying there.
And you're seeing your life, connecting the dots?
Just doing, I don't know, I can't even really remember the details of it, but it's all part of that whole thing. And at one point I was like, I feel like the urge to do some stretching. So I start doing some yoga, and then I get into a pigeon pose and I just start bawling my eyes out for half an hour. And it's like, just sitting in a pigeon pose crying.
It's releasing so much.
It's like, this is what? So funny. And then I just remember, like, I wasn't crying over anything particular. I was just crying.
It probably felt so good though. No,
I don't know. I was just
okay.
And then there's this little kind of voice in the back of my head at the end of it saying, "You don't have to cry anymore." And I was like, "Okay." I went and did something else.
On to the next.
So strange. But the thing that resonated with what you were saying around the self-love element is that I've been working on self-love, kind of developing the self-love, because I identified that a lot of my like issues were stemming from the lack of self-love. A lot of my insecurities, fear of being alone, just like fear of failure. It's all fundamentally a lack of self-love, self-acceptance, and knowing that you have yourself, you have your own back, and you'll figure it out. And you're actually powerful enough to figure it out. And when you put your mind to it, things will work out if you put the work in. So and I've still that I can say that intellectually, but I'm still on the journey of feeling it deep down.
Mm-hmm.
But like I was listening to the Mindset Mentor. Do you know that podcast by any chance?
No.
It's just this guy that does like 5-10 minute everyday episodes. And during COVID, I was going through like every morning I just listened to it. It's just like, you know, top level motivational, like, yeah, you do this, get up. And I was like, yeah. And it was great. But there was one thing that really stuck with me, and it was like this story about this guy who had, I don't know if the story is true or not, but he's like, I spoke to this guy who I saw him one time and I saw him 6 months later, and he was a completely different person. And the host asked why this guy had changed. And he basically said, every morning for the last X amount of months, I've gotten out of the shower and I've looked at myself like naked, looked at myself in the eyes, and I said, I love you for like 30, 40, 50 times just every morning. And I was like, interesting. So I started doing it.
Okay.
Before doing the trip. And sometimes I couldn't look at myself in the eyes and say it. I didn't believe it. It was really fucking weird.
Wow.
Really weird.
Oh my God, I want to try that.
It was strange.
But the mirror thing is weird, right? Because then you start to see everything.
You're looking at yourself in the eyes.
You're looking staring at yourself in the eyes.
Like front of the mirror, looking at you in the eye saying, I love you, Adam. And doing it 30 to 50 times every day for
what an amazing practice.
And it was interesting. It sounds, I think more. Yeah. I like the days that I remembered it, but a lot of it I remember just being like, there were some times where I remember standing in front of that mirror and saying it and like welling up with tears because I didn't believe it.
Wow.
So, you know, but I was going through a breakup at the time, and there was a lot that I was working on, and it was a bit intense. So get to this trip, and I've built this practice up. I've been doing this thing, and I just felt the need to just look at myself in the mirror while tripping absolute balls, staring at myself in the mirror, and I was saying that for about another half an hour. That was another half an hour of that trip.
Just, I love you, I love you, I love you.
Yeah,
I love you.
yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, you know what, maybe this is, I'm on a not a bad path here, because you hear all those stories of people who do mushrooms or do psychedelics and they can't look at themselves in the mirror because it freaks them out. I just stood there like everything bad. It's been like, Adam, I love you.
It is weird looking at yourself though, like when you're on psychedelics, because you're like, holy shit, I'm in this human body.
Yeah.
Like, and
or
you
who
don't
am
feel
I?
like, what is this?
Yeah. Because it morphs as well.
So weird.
Yeah.
Your body
it morphs. Your body morphs. Everything's changing and you're like, what's here? What is actually in existence? Like, but you know, the core of this trip was, everything I'd read was the important. I also had my diffuser. I know it's getting late for you. You're getting tired, so we'll wrap it up soon. But I had my diffuser. That was nice, and I basically, what did I do? So I did this self-love thing, and then I was looking at all of my like issues that I had on the wall. And I was just like reflecting on them, and I was writing notes and putting them underneath each. So like a Kanban. You know,
cool. So you're like piecing things together.
And then I love
how your brain works. So you have to like map it out. So even logical.
Even tripping balls, I'm like doing a Kanban. Oh, it's ridiculous. So, so I did that, and then I got to this point at the bottom of one of them, and I was like, it was something along the lines of, why do I chase validation or something? And I'm like, because I don't love myself. And then it's like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I got down to this point. It's like, why don't you love yourself? And then I wrote, but I do love you, Adam. And I wrote it there, and I looked at it, and I'm like, huh. I just felt this intense release of emotion. Like I just felt like my shoulders, like, you know when you feel something shifted in a moment?
Yes.
That like, and it's like a wave of feeling through your body.
Yes.
I felt that, and I was like, huh. And then I looked at all the others, and I'm like, self-love.
Oh,
self-love. I was like, interesting. Yeah, and I was like, wow, okay, this is interesting. And then I looked at myself in the mirror after I had a shower, and I had this nose ring at the time, and I'm like, this ain't me. Just pulled it out, put it in the bin.
Wow.
And then I put it in
big shift.
Yeah, and then I had to get it out because I'm like, you know what, I'm going to keep that as a memory. So I got it out and put it away.
Save it for later.
Yeah. And that was a trip. And then I went out for dinner by myself and just no phone. That was,
wow.
It was wild.
That's transformational.
It was wild.
That you even allowed yourself that space to do that. I love that.
I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking like 4 or 5 grams. Like you are sending it. We can talk about it offline, and I can give you all the tips that I had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I've done 4 maybe, but I kind of had a self-love
by yourself
moment. No, not by myself. With my brother.
Yeah, that's the key. By yourself.
I had a moment like that in the mirror one time on mushrooms when I like really, really, really needed it. Like in 2021, I was in like after I got out of the club, I got immediately into an abusive relationship, and it was really, really sad, so traumatizing, and like I just couldn't leave this guy for some reason. It was really tied to my worth because I thought that like I needed him for I don't know what, like he was manipulating and made me stay with him basically. And so there was one moment after a year we were together, I went to New Orleans with my friends, and we all did, it was like 14 people in this Airbnb, and I led a mushroom ceremony, and I gave everyone 3.5 gram mushroom chocolate. So it was a lot for 14 people. Honestly, the energy was very chaotic. I don't know if I can do that again.
Sounds wild.
I was just experimenting. So that was part of it. But anyway, I remember at the end of the night, everyone was getting ready for bed. Everyone was kind of like going in their own direction. and we cried a lot. We had a lot of just so much releasing. But I had a moment by myself when I was in the bathroom mirror. I remember going into the bathroom and I was washing my face like 10 times or 12 times. I just kept washing my face. And then all of a sudden I looked up at myself and I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, Audra, you have to start loving yourself. We're counting on you. Like, we need you to start loving yourself. And it was almost like this like message was coming through, and I knew what that meant. I knew the action that I needed to take because I was stuck in this situation, this relationship with this guy, and it was not aligned. I was not doing okay. And that moment was the moment that I didn't see him after that. And that ended it. And it was a catalyst after that, because literally a month later, I ended up breaking things off with him. I didn't see him. I broke things off with him. And then I hired my first business coach. And within a few months, literally 3 months, I scaled my business from making like $4,000 a month to $15,000 a month. And then 2 months later, I moved to Tulum. So it was like such a catalyst for me to get out of that dark place. But it all came back to love. Like, I knew what I needed to do. I just wasn't doing it. I wasn't loving myself. I was keeping myself in very uncomfortable situations, very unhealthy situations. And maybe the same for you.
Yeah, I think that story is still playing out for me. I'm also very stubborn, I've realized. So I need to, sometimes it needs to kick me up the arse a few times before I, it really gets into my thick skull.
Okay.
But we're getting there.
What did you change after that mushroom trip, though? What was the shift that helped you come out?
Nothing really. I was already on the path. It was just more of like a trusting. It was more, the thing that I've gotten better at is trusting my intuition, which has been very difficult over the years, because I've been very like, if this, then that, if that, then this, if you do this, then this means this. And then something in my gut will say the opposite, and then I'll try and I'll go down one path and it'll be against what my gut says. And I still do it today, but like I'm doing it with a little bit more awareness. So something would say one thing and then my gut would say something else, and I would try and create frameworks in my head that would make me agree with the way that my head says, and then my gut would be right.
Interesting.
Most of the time.
Try to
it's still
rationalize
happening.
it.
Rationalize it, and then my gut would be right. So that trip really just allowed me to begin to be more accepting to be alone, to be able to take more risks, because I know that I've got me, and even when shit doesn't work out, I'm the X factor in the equation, and I'm really powerful, and I'll figure it out.
Yes,
is kind of where I'm getting to. Again, right now I'm in a chaotic situation financially, and I'm in a chaotic situation with where I want to go. But deep down, there's something that just says, "You'll be right. You'll figure it out. Maybe you're not that good right now at what you need to do, but if you really want to do it, you'll be all right. You'll figure it out, and you'll get there." So that was, and it was very subtle. It was more of just like an internal confidence that I helped develop.
Okay.
And who knows where that leads? That internal confidence probably led me to, Tulum, and then that internal confidence led me to us talking, and that internal confidence led me to not be concerned or annoyed or anything when you were like, I'm not replying to this guy, because we saw each other 2 days later. I was like, hey, what's up? It didn't matter. I don't give a fuck.
Exactly.
Like, I literally didn't give a fuck.
Because you had the confidence. You're like, I'm here.
Don't care.
What's up?
So I don't know. Maybe that confidence is, it was very subtle. Maybe that confidence is making me a better podcast host. That who knows where this goes? I don't know.
Right.
I just don't know.
It's the steps that you take, what it creates.
I have no idea. We can loop back in a couple of years, because I think the things that I'm doing are a lot slower. They're a lot slower to build. Unless, or maybe I just haven't figured out how to like snap it into just like success. But we'll figure it out. You mentioned business coach.
Yes.
What was that worth it?
1,000%.
Really?
Yeah. 1,000%. Well, first of all, I didn't know that much about business. I'm pretty marketing savvy in general, so I figured out a lot on my own. But when I started working with my business coach, it was like permission to take action. And I think that's the biggest thing for a lot of people, is like that permission to go towards what they actually want. And so I started taking the action that I needed to take to actually build my business and get clients and be successful and all these things. And like the cool thing about it actually was that we ended up working together for 6 months. And then around that time, I was already like, I kind of want to get out of LA. I don't know where I want to go. I think I want to go to Mexico. Maybe I want to go to Bali. Like I was already ready to make a move. And actually it was my business coach and his girlfriend that invited me to come to Tulum the first time.
Hey.
So we actually, all three of us got an Airbnb and ended up working, and we were creating content and all this stuff for like 12 hours a day for a month. And then we ended up going to Cabo together. And so we did the same thing there. And then I just came back to Tulum because I felt like called to it for some reason. And it's just cool to me that like that opened up the door for the next chapter of my life. And that was another thing of like following my heart, following my intuition, because I knew I wanted help. I knew I wanted support. And I just felt drawn to this person that I'd seen him online. I saw his content and I just felt like he's going to be the one to help me. And like, we're not working together anymore because now I'm like kind of shifting the way that I see my business. But actually so wild because they were just in Tulum this week. And so I got to see them again, and it had been 1.5 years since I saw them. And I was like, hey, still in Tulum, like, right where you left me. Like I wasn't expecting to stay here this long, but I honestly do think that some of the coolest connections in business that I have made is through coaching. Like either through actually business coaching or coaching groups and the other people that you meet. But something like that, you're going to find the people that are most like-minded to you and that have the same values as you and are aligned with you. And yeah, I've met a lot of people from business coaching groups here in Tulum in different places. And yeah, I think it's a really cool way to find your tribe.
I've always had it in the back of my mind, but I've never really done it. I've never really had mentors specifically, and I've never really had a coach, and I've always kind of figured it out myself. But
yeah,
it keeps coming up, so it's something I should probably look into. How much time do you have, by the way? Oh, you go.
I was going to say, I think if you have like a vision and you don't know how to execute it and you want to get there fast, then hiring a business coach would be a good idea. Or having that, or if you want to get there faster than you could get there yourself, they're going to accelerate that growth for you. Because I don't think I would have figured that out on my own. Like I got pretty far on my own, but not like to the level that he was able to help me get. And even someone to think bigger for you. You know, it's like sometimes you need to adopt somebody else's mindset, because if you don't have people around you that are thinking big or that are having a vision, you need to kind of adopt that from someone else and like help them to help you see what you're doing. And for me, that I feel like that's a lot of value.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So with the business side of things, would you have any? So how did you map this out? So you did lives on Instagram. Did you already have an Instagram following before that?
Okay, so yes, I did, because when I was in the news, I got like 10,000 followers in 1 week. Yeah. So I think by the time I started doing the lives, I already had like 14 or 15,000 followers. But then I started kind of getting savvy with my strategy, because I would start to reach out. I did lives every day. And then I would reach out to influencers or people with a big following, and I would just offer them a free session. And then in exchange, they would post it on their story. So then I started getting followers from that, because then people were hearing about me from other, like organic ways. And there's been a lot of ways that I've done that sort of stuff. Like even when I launched my first course, people don't normally do this for online courses, but I had influencers promoting my online course. So I was reaching out to wellness influencers and people on YouTube and stuff that were making videos and content about my course. So that helped it to spread organically. So, I mean, that was a few ways that I got into doing that without having to like invest a lot of money.
But you got the product right first. So you got the product right. There was clearly some need in it based on the feedback from the people in your life.
There. Yeah, the interest was there.
So it wasn't just cold. You were like, okay, there's something here. And then you worked on the workshops, and then you developed a bit of an influencer program where you engaged other people.
Yeah.
But the product has to be good for you to be able to engage influencers. Like if it's shit, they're going to be like, fuck off.
No, I mean, I put a lot of effort into the design and also just understanding, like, I wanted to know that it worked, and I had reviews and like that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Cool. And then you went into Spotify. I know you've got some stuff on Spotify.
Yeah.
So there's some streaming revenue, I'm guessing a little bit, not a crazy amount.
No, it never really picked up.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think I ever made money from that.
YouTube?
No.
Yeah. So it's mainly
mainly the coaching in the groups. Yeah. Or digital courses.
So digital courses, group coaching, and one-on-one sessions. Cool. And it's all done remotely.
Yes.
Sick.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. It's people ask me, they're like, why don't you teach in Tulum? Like, why don't you teach at the beach? That would be amazing. And I'm like, I don't like to go places. This is why I wanted to do everything online, so I can just stay at home in the comfort of my luxury hotel in the Caribbean. And if I want to go somewhere for the weekend, I can, and I don't have to tell anybody. Like, the whole point of doing this is not to work for somebody. So I want that freedom. Yeah.
The only thing that I can think of that would be valuable for doing it in person in Tulum would be and maybe when I'm back, we can do this. You know, we said we do some content, but you doing a breathwork workshop, and we film it and we drone it and we make it like an actual production, and then that goes on YouTube.
Oh,
so
yeah,
people
that would be cool.
Pay in person for that workshop, and then you put that workshop on YouTube as content in a beautiful location. That could be another way to like tap in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So love it. So what would I'll let you go soon. There's only a couple more questions. I know you've got to go to bed soon. How you feeling? You a bit tired? You all right?
I'm good. I'm a little tired because I taught class before this too. So I'm like, I've been staring at the screen for 5 hours. So I'm like that, but I'm good.
Okay.
How are you?
So what? Yeah, I'm cruising. It's 1:40 p.m., 12:40 p.m. I haven't eaten. So I'm in like full fast mode, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. So it's been
good. Me too.
I think this is one of the best ones I've done. So
wow, that's awesome.
It's good. We just flow though.
Yeah.
And we both know that. You know, we've been friends for a while now.
Yeah.
So what would if we've got a listener that wants to buck the trend, do something that isn't the normal 9 to 5, has an idea, has a goal, has a little bit of interest, what would 3 pieces of advice? What are 3 pieces of advice that you would give them to help create a life like yours?
3 pieces of advice. Okay. For number 1 is figure out how to solve a problem. It doesn't matter what you do, like if it's coaching or content or marketing, it doesn't matter what you do. What matters is what problem you're solving for people. And when you can be very specific and clear about what problem you solve and how you can do it, people will pay you money. That's how you make money, is you solve problems. Number 2 is make a decision. Be very clear. It doesn't matter if you have like a bunch of options and you're like, I don't know, should I do this one? Just be decisive. Pick something. You can change it later. But like, pick something, go down the path. Oh no. Hey. Pick something, pick what you're going to do, go down that path, learn the lessons you need to learn. And if you need to pivot or reroute later, you can do that. But at least you're not waiting around to make a decision. And then number 3 is no plan B.
That's scary.
Go all in. This is how you find success, though. I think if you always have something in the back of your mind, like, oh, I can move home with my parents, or I can do this, or I could get this job, or I could whatever. I don't know. Some people say you need to have like a side hustle or a side job before you actually go all the way in. But like for me, I never would have done it if it wasn't all in. I never would have done it. I tried to do it before and I didn't. But as soon as I knew that I was like, this is what I'm doing and there's no backup plan, that's when I started getting clients. That's when I started actually making money, building my business out of nothing, out of air.
Literally.
Yeah. That's why I love the business side, because I'm like, if I can figure out how to sell air, like I've literally built a 6-figure business selling air while living in the jungle. I feel like I can sell anything. Like that's okay, 6 figures isn't like a lot of money, you know, like compared to like what I want to create, but like it's still way beyond what a lot of people could imagine, you know, making or selling. So
how do you get this to 7 figures?
Like my business plan? More products. Yeah, I'm going to launch more products and even like higher ticket products like business masterminds. And just, scale the products that I already have, or the programs that I already have. Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Do you have a specific time where you want to get it to that point? Do you even want it to get it to that point?
Realistically, no, for sure I wanted to get to that point. Yeah, why not? Realistically, I would say 3 years.
So how would you do it if you could do it in 6 months?
How would I do it if I could do it in 6 months? That sounds so stressful to me. I feel like I would just be inside making content all day and like putting things together all day. I don't know. I've never done it, so I don't know if I can do it. I can't say that I haven't done it. So that's part of the journey.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want it enough.
That could be part of it. Like I think I do, but I don't necessarily like want to do all the work myself.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
I thought to myself like last night, I'm sitting there, I really want to dig into how to work on like AI chatbot stuff. Like I feel like there's such an opportunity there for me to, you know, automate this podcast and make it really solid with tech behind, like backing it.
Interesting.
And you need to look into this shit. It's like pretty fucked. It's crazy.
Wait, so it would replace you having to do this?
No, not the episodes itself, but either replace or automate a lot of the back end processes.
Right. Okay.
And really simplify it so I can focus. But I know there's a loose way to do a lot of it, and I've been meaning to put some consistent time into learning it. But last night was one of those nights where I made a clear choice to watch 4 episodes of The Office and eat snacks instead of getting up and going on my computer and like playing around with the tech. And I thought to myself, I'm making a choice here. I am making a clear choice to not do this.
Yeah.
So anyway, something to think
it's
about.
hard when you're working all day and you're focusing all day, and then it's like you got to do it again at night. It's like the night shift. I'm kind of in
much do you want it?
That stage. Right, exactly. How early do you want to wake up? How much work do you actually want to put in? That's it. Yeah.
Also, there's a big part of, I think there's a trap where the like grind mentality without actually focusing on your health. So like I think you still need to have ample sleep, and you still need to be able to have your head clear, and you need to find those times to exercise, clear your mind, and align your purpose.
Yeah.
And then everything else should be work.
Everything. That's what I've realized has been a big shift in my life, is like even my social interactions now are work. Like if I'm hanging out with my friends, we're either creating content together or creating like a mastermind, like some sort of like plan for each other's businesses.
So fun.
Yeah, super fun. Or like recording something together. Or I literally only have one friend now that isn't an entrepreneur, and she's probably like I don't know how to say it. Like probably my most like check out friend. Like I really appreciate her because we don't talk about work. I don't work when I'm with her, and she's probably the only friend that's like that. But all my other friends are like, I don't want to do anything else. Like, why would we just sit on the beach when we can be taking pictures? You know, or like doing something productive. So that's a big shift for me recently.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. What advice do you have? What 3 tips do you have? I'm curious.
I mean, I'm not successful in this world, so I don't know if I have any right advice to give.
Yeah. You are, Adam. Just setbacks don't mean anything about who you are. Yeah.
I mean, so 3 tips on what specifically, like creating
a life that you love.
Mine's pretty practical, and I feel like I've not really, I don't know, I don't feel like the skill sets that I have, I understand and have monetized yet. Like I know I'm really good at a bunch of stuff, but I haven't found the exact place that it just like clicks and makes me heaps of money.
Okay.
But I know it's there. Like I know I'm not normal. Like you know I'm not normal. Like it's clear, but I don't know yet. I think about this quite a lot.
As soon as it clicks, you're just gonna like skyrocket.
Probably.
And you're gonna be like a millionaire in 1 year.
Probably.
Everyone's gonna be like, yeah, we saw that coming.
Probably, but
it's about time.
I don't know. I don't know yet.
Right.
Maybe it's this. I don't know. But I'm so distracted with so much other shit. And that's probably half the problem, is getting control of my mind.
Yeah.
And getting more intentionality around the decisions I make.
Yeah.
So that's probably where my first piece of advice would be: intentionality. Like mapping out what you really want. And that can change, but really mapping out what you want at this time, why you want it. Because if you have a list of things that you want and you don't actually know why you want them, you don't really, you'll never be able to break past the challenges that will eventually come your way.
Right.
Because you won't have a reason to get up.
Right.
And you won't have a reason to push forward, and you won't have a reason to eat shit constantly, because it's what it is. It's a grind. It's hard work, and you have to figure out why.
Yeah.
So intentionality would be important. And then I'm a little bit different to you, the way like I don't have, like I feel like I can do better work from a place of safety.
Okay.
So like once you've figured out what you want, spend time working another job, build up a base, build up 6 months, 12 months of a, if shit hits the fan, fun. So you know that you've got space.
Right.
If you need it.
Right.
And then, just consistent habits, do the work. Simple as that. There's no way around it. You want something, you have to do the work. No one's going to give anything to you. If you have something come easy to you, it can go go away just as easy. It's like that Lao Tzu quote, the brighter the flame, it burns half the time. And like if you think about a fire, the heat comes from the embers that are built over time, not the like flash in the pan flame at the start.
Yeah.
And the depth is in the heat. And that takes time, and that takes like work, and that takes energy, and that takes cultivating the base. And then it lasts a lot longer. And I mean, what I'm just trying to think of like little things that have served me well over time. Another one is probably just don't care about rejection. It's so funny how many times I've been told no and then it results in a yes.
You're so good at that. I feel like I noticed that
so
about
funny.
you. Like you just go for it and just ask, and it doesn't matter what happens.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it comes across as a little bit brash, and some people can be like, you're not tactful. I definitely lack tact in a lot of my approaches and things, but I think it's netted out to a positive overall.
Yeah. Overall, in your
overall.
experiences. Yeah.
So now the next...
that's a skill. That's a really important skill.
I mean, it's come down to the few key things being comfortable with the rejection by just knowing it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Knowing that like a lot of things aren't necessarily a hard no, they're just a not right now, or what you're offering isn't what they want. And I am being selfish to think that, you know, this person needs what I'm offering or wants what I'm offering.
Yeah.
They might not. Like, and who am I to say? Or they do, and you've identified that, then it's a marketing problem. You just don't understand how to communicate what you can offer to those people.
Okay, right.
And in all of those rejections, you'll either A, give up because you realize it's not worth it, B, readjust, get better, try again, or C, move into a complete different direction. You're like, because the way you're doing it isn't working.
So either way, you're learning. You're
learning.
In some way.
You're only learning unless you give up, unless you stop and say, no, I'm out. But even then, you're probably learning, you're developing some skill that will apply into another stage of whatever you do next. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my TED Talk.
Love it. That's really good. What did you call yourself? Like the friendly something?
Friendly neighborhood promoter.
Was that what it was? Yeah, maybe that was it.
Or politely persistent.
I think it was politely persistent. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. I feel like that's you. Oh,
it's so funny.
That's why we're even friends.
Yeah.
I didn't give you a chance at first.
No. And that's fine. Like, let's use that as an example. I was just like, instead of taking that initial rejection as actually, let's take a step back. Another thing is also just showing up, being in the right rooms at the right times, being in the places where the people you want to meet are going to be. Because you think serendipity is a bit crazy, but it's not. It kind of happens a lot if you place yourself if you put yourself in the place that you need to put yourself. Serendipity is inevitable. So using us for an example, like our friendship has developed through seeing you like me going to Tulum and me choosing to stay in Tulum because I felt that the people in Tulum were the people that I wanted in my life at that time. That's part one. And just not leaving, being there for 2 days and leaving. So part two was going out of my way to, you know, like I felt drawn to you when I saw you and I was like, okay, cool. So going out of my way, saying hello, connecting. And then part three was not taking a rejection to heart, but understanding that, you know, no response is still a response.
Right.
Understanding the reality, like not creating some like, you know, they probably just didn't see it. They probably saw it.
Right.
It just wasn't a priority. And then
at the time.
And that's okay. And then, you know, being in the right place, again, being around the areas where, but like to allow for serendipity to occur again.
Yes. Yeah, I've been experimenting with that too and realizing that I think for a long time I had this like FOMO, like I always wanted to go to the party or like think like where are the cool people going to be? And then I realized like actually the people that I want to connect with are probably where I actually want to go, which is like the spa on a Monday night.
Or a cafe. Working.
Yeah, or the cafe tucked away somewhere or the yoga class.
Yeah.
because that's where I actually want to go. And whenever you start to question yourself, like, should I go to this party or should I do this thing? Like, don't think, oh, I'm going to miss out on opportunities on this way, so that's where I should go. Go where your heart is actually leading you, because that's where you're going to find the people that are actually aligned with you.
For sure. It's hard to not get into the FOMO though. Mm-hmm. It's tough, and you need that awareness, and I think that awareness comes from meditation and reflection.
And the experience of it.
Yeah. Knowing that, oh yeah, maybe you have to go down the wrong path for a little while to realize it's the wrong path. It's part of finding the right path. All right. My last question for you, let you go to bed. What is the why of all this? What's the meaning of life?
What is the meaning of life?
Yeah.
That's the question you're asking me? Oh my God. After all of this. I feel like I should say to breathe.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I feel like that's what I should say, but I feel like there's like maybe something else there that I'm like not really thinking. The meaning of life is to experience our true nature as humans, to return to our true nature as humans, which is love, abundance, joy, health, happiness, prosperity. That is what we came here on this earth to experience. But it's the limitations, it's the layers, it's the things that are blocking us that stop us from realizing who we really are or who we came here to be. So the journey of life is removing the blindfold, removing those layers, removing the blockages to come back to our true nature of wholeness.
Cool. Through breath.
The breath helps get you there. Yeah. There's other ways you can experience it, but the breath helps you get you there.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Audra.
Thank you, Adam. This was so fun.
I'll see you soon.
Yeah. In Mexico or California, Australia.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay.